Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Sideline Shenanigans podcast. Today with Jacob Maggard
Dalton Phillips.
and
Julio.
welcome back. Obviously, diving into another week of college football picks. Again, thank you guys so much for watching, tuning in. Like, subscribe, comment helps a ton, boosting the channel out. And again, we're diving into a pretty important week. We've obviously got Julio on here because they've got a really big game that we'll talk about towards the end of this one. Going to be one of the biggest games all year in the SEC, you would assume, with these two teams being perennial powerhouses in that conference. But first of all, diving into a very important Big 12 game. As you're looking at two of probably the best teams in the conference, arguably both these teams will be sitting inside that top five. Both really well coached. We saw Arizona State make the playoff last year. We saw TCU make the playoff a few years ago. And Dalton, you made a really nice comparison last week to Josh Hoover kind of playing like a Max Duggan, giving you that quarterback play that is at the level of a college football playoff team. That's how good he is. And now there's a real argument to be made that the Big 12 has the best quarterbacks in the country. These guys have all performed. I mean, you look along the list, Sawyer Robertson, Josh Hoover. I think Sam Levitt, other than the bad game against Mississippi State, has really bounced back. So when you're talking about this, when you're getting a really good quarterback matchup, of course, Hoover has thrown for exactly 1,000 yards, nearly 70% completion percentage, and 11 touchdowns. On the other side for Sam Levitt, been really good in every other game. Threw two picks against Mississippi State, but he kind of erased that last week. Has six touchdowns and 748 yards, but he also brings you a rushing aspect. Dalton, looking at these rushing attacks, obviously you can see which side is a little bit better than the other. Talk about these two teams.
Yeah, TCU. We're starting with the little worst of the side of those. I'm going to start with TCU with Kavarion Barnes and Jeremy Payne, and these guys are good running backs, but nowhere near as good as the guy on the other side of the ball. Lee Brown is an absolute stud. I mean, he's filling in Cam Scadaboo's shoes, and he's doing it really, really good.
Yes.
This guy is an excellent running back, very fast running back, very fast, excellent out of the backfield, can catch the ball. And this guy gets open field, who knows where he's going to end up? Most of the time, the end zone.
Yeah, and again, you're talking about a guy that's a playmaker. That's kind of what they
Yeah.
expected of him. You saw Scadaboo finally getting his chance in the NFL, takes over for the Giants, has an incredible game, was easily their best player on the offensive side of the ball. So that was going to be a big question mark is what could
W fantasy pick by me. That was a fantasy pick by me. He clutched up for me last week.
Well, I just made a huge trade in one of my leagues and acquired him. It was a massive trade, including like six players on each team. So making money moves in a money league I'm playing in. So I like getting him. But obviously, like you said, he's a playmaker. But on top of that, Julio, I think there's another back in that backfield if you wanted to mention his name real quick.
And then they got Kanye Uda from Army. He is an absolute stud. He's a power back, mostly use him on the goal line. He's on that Army scheme where they just power through everybody.
Yeah, again, that's the system he came from. That's why they went out and got him. They thought he'd be a very big contribution. And where they have that thunder and lightning, we've talked about that a couple times with teams in the NFL. You talk about Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery being able to do that for the Lions. And you come back down to the college level where there's teams doing that now. That's one of those situations where they have the fast back and then they have the power back. Obviously, looking at McAllister being the lead receiver for TCU, we talked about how he probably had the single best week in college football last week with 250 plus yards, three touchdowns through the air. Was absolutely incredible. Seems to be Hoover's favorite target, but again, when he's throwing for 1,000 yards, he's spreading the ball around to a lot of different players. And then on the other side, Jordan Tyson. This is a first round pick in the NFL, probably a top 10 pick right now, likely going to be the number one receiver in that draft class. He seems to be Sam Levitt's favorite target by a wide margin, right at half of his receiving yards. And of course, this is a guy that has a connection with them that they built last year. They were unable to play together in the playoffs because Jordan Tyson went down with a pretty unfortunate injury. And who knows, if they'd had Jordan Tyson, we're talking about a team that would have probably beat Texas. So this system has been built back up and they're ready to compete this year. Of course, you look down at their defense. Smith being the lead sack guy for them with 3 through 4 games. Again, we're not talking about crazy good defenses here, but we are talking about two really well coached teams. TCU, of course, with Sonny Dykes, Arizona State with Kenny Dillingham. And obviously, the quarterback matchup is going to be the story of this one. You can see the spread is sitting around 3.5 for Arizona State. Julio, taking place in Tempe. Who are you going to take in this one?
I'm going to take TCU because of the quarterback play. Both teams have great quarterbacks, but I'm going to go with Josh Hoover.
Yeah, and of course, I'm going to sit there with you and say I think TCU is going to get this one. I do think that this is a really tough one to get on the road, however. I think Arizona State is really, really good. And I think there's a world where by the end of the year, Arizona State is right there in the competition, right there in the thick of it, could potentially beat TCU. And again, this could be a potential matchup. We're talking about Texas Tech being really good. Me and Dalton covered them last week. But again, I'd like to argue that TCU and Arizona State are right there with them. But I'll be going with you as well. Give me TCU on the road. Dalton, your pick here.
Yeah, I'm going to defer from both of you. I really like this Arizona State team. I've been with them since the beginning of the season. I think this team is my Big 12 favorite as right now. And even with that one loss, I think you can come back, especially with a quarterback like Sam Levitt and an excellent backfield there you have. And I think they take it home at Arizona State, and they're going to go crazy down there because
Yeah,
it's a big party school. You
Yes.
you you ain't experienced a place like Arizona State.
yeah, the environment is going to be rocking. Of course, Kenny Dillingham definitely has him going. He's definitely a fan favorite coach as well, as we've seen him do a lot of podcasts and stuff like that, just kind of connecting with the crowd. And they've definitely built up a pretty popular fan base in Arizona State. Moving on to our next one here, we got USC taking on Illinois. Of course, Illinois coming off of that beat down by Indiana. They are going to get a home game here. It is going to be important that they bounce back. Otherwise, you're looking at an 0-2 start in Big Ten play, and that's probably your season already over for what you wanted to be. And again, you're going to have to finish inside the top four in the Big Ten, you would think. And again, 0-2 would pretty much ruin those chances. Looking at this quarterback duel. Jaden Maeva has been absolutely incredible this year. Kind of a guy that's flying under the radar. A lot of people haven't mentioned his name when you talk about a Heisman or how good quarterbacks are playing, but he has 1,200 passing yards, 9 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. So, what else can he do? If they come in here and lose this one, it wouldn't probably be on him. And then on the other side, of course, Luke Altmaier, the veteran quarterback for Illinois. Last week, really bad week, one that you want to just completely forget, don't talk about. Threw for under 100 yards, but he also still hasn't turned the ball over yet, and he's still sitting around 70%. That's what you expect out of a veteran. Dalton, you look at these two rushing attacks, clear that one side's going to be a kind of a combo set of backs, whereas the other
Yeah.
side's got their guy.
Yeah, the combo set of backs. I've talked about them. I talked about them a lot last year. Caden Fegan and Khalil Valentine. They're two great running backs. And then the other side, you have Waymon Jordan, and that guy is a stud. You give that guy, he's averaging over 100 yards a game, and the back at quarterback up like Maeva, and he's excellent for that. And that's the kind of athlete you want, especially the kind of guy that's going to get you rushing yards. He's averaging like almost like 8.5 yards a carry right now, and that's excellent. I mean, you can't ask for any better than that.
No, again, that's incredible. Again, when you're having one of the best passing attacks in the country, but on top of that, you have a 100-yard rusher at halfback. Again, they don't rely on that system like Illinois does, where they even go three deep sometimes when it comes to the running backs they play, kind of like what Tennessee does. So again, this is going to be a fun one, an interesting one, because both teams are going to run the ball probably a good bit, but USC, I mean, we know what Lincoln Riley wants to do. He wants to pass the ball, and that is where the system fits for Jaden Maeva. Obviously, you look down at these receivers. Lead receiver for USC, Makai Lemon, kind of expected to be the guy once they had the transfers that they lost. He stepped right into that role and taken it with kind of ran away with it as being their favorite guy. And then Beatty's been the guy for Altmaier easily on the other side, having a great season so far, 302 receiving yards. But again, last week being a week where they just couldn't get him going, and that just so happens to be that tough Indiana defense. And I don't think USC's defense is near as good as Indiana's, and that could play into part into what we're doing here, making this pick. Obviously, Julio, I'm going to let you lead us once again and pick one of these two teams here.
I know this might be a little crazy, but I think USC blows out Illinois once again, and I think Maeva has a great game.
Yeah, and again, I don't think that that's completely out of the realm of possibility. We saw what Illinois can do sometimes, and they absolutely faltered last week. Dalton, I'm going to throw it over to you for pick two here.
Yeah, it's a tough pick for me. We were so high on Illinois at the beginning of the season. Me and you both were. I thought there would be a possible Big Ten champion, like
Yeah, they had the
somewhere around there. Excellent. This is an excellent ball team. Like it really is. But I'm going to fall with Julio here and sit with USC. I feel like that team is a really good team. Lincoln Riley's a great coach. He knows just how to work the offense. And I feel like Illinois' defense might give up a little bit too much for their offense to cover up.
Yeah, and again, I'm going to be with you again. I think USC was a team that was really flying under the radar before the season started. I think a lot of people just kind of forgot that they might have a really great quarterback, a pretty good receiver, and a coach that can obviously run that system with a great quarterback play. So I'm going to go with you guys. Give me USC, and they're going to be 5-0, 3-0 in Big Ten play already. There's a real talk that they're sitting up there with the Ohio States, Penn States, and Oregons, and being the top of this conference. And heck, one of Penn State or Oregon has to
Yeah,
lose.
one's
So
going to go down. Yeah.
again, they're going to be in that top three conversation. So really, really big for USC here. Moving on to our next one here, got LSU taking on Ole Miss. Obviously, this is a really big game. Ole Miss actually, once they made the quarterback change, has looked really, really good. LSU obviously has Garrett Nussmeier, one of the best quarterbacks in the entire country. You look down his stat line for the season, again, close to a 1,000-yard passer. Will obviously cross that in this game. Has 6 touchdowns, only has the 2 interceptions. I know on the other side for Ole Miss, the story has been Trinidad Chambliss taking over at quarterback. Clearly the better starter of the two. Lane Kiffin all week has been saying, I don't know who I'm going to start. I'm going to keep it under wraps and not let anybody know. It's clear that Trinidad Chambliss is the better starter. I think that's who he goes with. And again, I think if he benches him for Austin Simmons, they're not taking this game serious enough. Again, I think it'll be Chambliss starting this one. Dalton, go ahead and talk about these running backs in this game.
Yeah, Ole Miss has behind Trinidad Chambliss. He's a great running back already as a quarterback. You have Keywan Lacey. That guy's a great running back, especially for this scheme. This scheme is known to pass the ball quite a bit, but if you have an excellent running back like that, it helps you out a whole bunch. And then the other side, Caden Durham is questionable for this game, which is a huge blow for LSU if he doesn't play because that guy is an excellent athlete. He's a sophomore. He's a young guy, but he is an excellent athlete. Quick, strong. The guy can just make plays. And his backup is Caleb Jackson. He's more of a pass catcher. He hasn't done very much on the ground, but look for that guy on the side of the backfield.
Yeah, again, that's kind of been his game so far as pass catching. They haven't had to use him as a running back, so we don't really know what he can do once he gets in the backfield. I think, like we just looked at, he literally has 6 carries in the year. So this is a guy that has zero experience as a pure rusher. And actually, 2 years ago in 2023 was the season he was used, and that was his freshman year. And he was actually better then than he has been this year. That's obviously due to Caden Durham taking over that backfield. Look at the lead receiver. Aaron Anderson's the guy for LSU, has been. And then Harrison Wallace on the other side. He's been really, really good filling the shoes of Trey Harris. I expect a lot out of him. And again, Chambliss has built a really solid connection with him through the first 2 weeks. They have to be able to go out to make plays because this LSU defense, their corner room is really, really good. Their linebacking core is great. Their defense in general is really, really good. So, again, you're talking about Miami, LSU is probably the two teams that have looked the best on both sides of the ball to start the year. So this is a really, really tough game. But good news for Ole Miss is they get this one at home. Dalton, I'll let you lead us here in a game that's got a 1.5 point split. Who are you taking here?
Yeah, Lane Kiffin's really mad this week. Whit Weeks took his daughter, and that's his girl now, I guess. And I
So
don't think he likes this. So I'm gonna go with Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin's mad, and I think he beats LSU here.
yeah, and again, I think that that would be a massive victory for Ole Miss because that catapults them into the top 10, probably into the top five. If you have that kind of win, you're 5-0, you're 3-0 in the SEC. I mean, we're talking about them being a favorite in conference. So that is something that they would love to be able to say. Again, I think if they play Trinidad Chambliss, that is a real possibility. I can't believe to this point it's still a question mark. But in this game, I'm going to go with LSU. I think LSU just has the better overall team. But I do think Ole Miss can definitely pull this one off. Being at home, it's a really huge advantage in the SEC in general. And again, if Caden Durham plays, I'd feel even better about my pick. But either way, I'm rolling LSU. Julio, what you got here?
I'm gonna say Ole Miss in a close one just because Caden Durham's questionable and I don't know. I just feel like at Ole Miss it's a different environment. Now if it was at LSU,
Alabama fans know that a lot, don't they?
I say if it was at LSU, it'd probably be a different story. I don't think this one would be as close of a
No,
spread, but
I
uh,
100% agree with you. I think if they were getting the home game in Death Valley, it'd be a different story. Moving on to our next one here, another big clash in the SEC. This will be A&M's first game in the SEC, but obviously they have already got a big win under their belt, beating Notre Dame last week. Auburn coming off a rough loss, but again, they would say that they got screwed over by the refs, and I don't think that they would probably be wrong. That was pretty poorly officiated. But again, they got to come out and still play. There's still a lot left to go in the season. You can lose 2 games in the SEC and be fine as long as you win your other ones, your other big matchups. So this is a chance for them to vault back up and get a huge win. I do think quarterback play wise, these are two guys that actually have kind of similar play styles. Reed clearly has been better this year, but they both want to run the ball. They're both run first guys. Arnold's system really built completely around that. Reed, again, he has an incredible receiver who I'll talk about in a minute that's been his big playmaker. You look at both of their statistics. Again, Arnold, 721 yards, was sacked a ton last week. That ruined his rushing statistics on the year. And then Marcel Reed, 9 touchdowns, only has the 1 interception. And of course, he threw up the 50-50 ball to get the huge win last week. So he's coming into this one with some offensive momentum. Dalton, talk about these running back rooms.
Yeah, for Texas A&M, I talked about him all last year. I still think this guy's one of the better running backs in the SEC. He just hasn't shown it that much yet.
Yeah.
Le'Veon Moss is an absolute stud. I like this guy a lot. And then that's backing up a great rushing quarterback behind Marcel Reed. Marcel Reed's an excellent athlete, especially out the back. That guy can run too. On the other side, Jeremiah Cobb is an absolute stud. I mean, he's a great running back to back up Arnold because Jackson Arnold's notorious for struggling a little bit, even though he hasn't been that bad this year. He's like just that kind of quarterback that struggles and needs a little boosting sometimes. And Jeremiah Cobb's a great running back for that situation.
Yeah, sometimes I mean you would say hot and cold quarterback would be
Yeah.
the thing with Arnold. Last year it was very evident that in a lot of games he just played horrible. But again, this year I think he's actually looked pretty good. He hasn't made the mistakes. His rushing stats, like I said, has been absolutely destroyed after he was sacked. Like I don't remember how many times last week, eight, nine
Yeah,
times.
he got
Nah, he got
sacked.
sacked 9 times
Yeah,
last week.
I mean that you can't have that. That just can't happen. So obviously, again, he's going to bring a rushing attack just like Reed does on the other side. You look down at the receivers. Cam Coleman, really really great young receiver for Auburn. He'll be here another year next year. But also they have Eric Singleton transferred in from Georgia Tech. He's also really good. And again, Arnold has been able to use both those receivers in the passing game. I think that's why he's actually having a little better year passing the ball than he did last year. Then on the other side, the stud receiver for A&M and potentially one of the best receivers in the entire country, Mario Craver. He's been unreal through the first couple games. 20 catches, 4 touchdowns, 443 yards. Again, Jordan Tyson is the best receiver in this class, and I think he's been the best receiver in college football. This guy could arguably be the second best right now. We haven't seen the flashes from the young guys who we talked about before the year started. And you're seeing Craver, you're seeing again Harrison Wallace, even at Ole Miss, having great years. This game, of course, taking place at Kyle Field in College Station. Definitely a really tough environment. Has been known for the atmosphere that they bring. And Julio, I'm gonna let you lead us on the pick here.
I'll never pick Auburn. Give me Texas A&M.
Of course, I expected that one. Dalton, you're next.
War Eagle, but I'm going to go Texas A&M here.
Yeah, and again, this is kind of a simple pick for the three of us.
Yeah.
We're all three siding with A&M here. Do think Auburn can win this one, but I think Texas A&M is just a better football team. Going on to our next one here, got Ohio State taking on Washington. Both of them, of course, getting their first Big Ten action here. Washington, again, starting off the season looking pretty good. I always thought Damon Williams was going to be one of the better quarterbacks in that conference this year. He started the year looking really, really good for them. And then Ohio State, of course, they were kind of going to be asking the question of, does Julian Sayin fit our system? Will he work as our starting quarterback? And so far, I'd say he's done pretty well. 3 interceptions through 3 games, not great. You'd like to see him cut back on those. But he's also a young player, so he's going to make mistakes. That's going to happen. And you look at the completion percentage; it's really, really good with the 8 touchdowns. Dalton, two backfields, very interesting. One side, obviously,
Yep.
has a guy that's probably one of the best backs in the country.
Jonah Coleman is an absolute stud there, and he is one of the best backs in the country. And I'm going to talk about the other side. Uh, Very familiar name there, but it's not the same guy. Bo Jackson.
Same
If you
guy.
have a running back named Bo Jackson, you think you're going to win ball games. And this guy is averaging over 10 yards a carry. That
Yes.
is dirty. Like that is disgusting.
He's
If
got to
you
be
can
awesome.
if you can keep that up, you're in the talks for the Doak Walker. And 217 yards isn't great, but you would think this Ohio State team would hand the ball to him more. CJ Donaldson's also a stud too. Two great running backs, similar to last year, but not as excellent as last year because last year's backfield was one of the best I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And but this is going to be a great running game in my opinion.
Yeah, of course, the rushing attack again will be important in this game. C.J. Donaldson transferred over from West Virginia, was obviously probably their best player last year. He comes in and been the bruiser for them, but of course, like you said, Jackson, and the time he's touched the field has been incredible. So they're going to obviously want to keep him going, making those plays. And then Jonah Coleman, there is people pushing for him to be a Heisman candidate, and I don't think it's a crazy take if Washington goes on and wins this one because he's going to be a big part of it if they are able to. Probably, again, you're talking about he'd have to have a 150-yard game. That put him over 500 on the season, which would be a really, really great year so far. He's already got 9 touchdowns through 3 games. So again, that's unreal. Every time they get to the goal line or even in the red zone, he's definitely a threat down there. You look at the receiving corps. Obviously, you're talking about Ohio State, who has two NFL caliber guys, Jeremiah Smith, Cardinal Tate. Cardinal Tate is going to the NFL this upcoming season, be a first round pick more than likely. Jeremiah Smith, there's an argument he could be the number 1 overall pick in his draft when he gets there next season. So And then on the other side, you got Denzel Boston being the lead receiver for Damon Williams. He's also been really good this year. He seemed like he was going to be the lead target prior to the season starting. He's obviously filled that gap and become the guy for them. Again, this is two pretty balanced teams. They're able to both run the ball well. Of course, I would take Coleman over most backs, but then on the other side, Ohio State's going to have the clear advantage at the receiver position. But where the stark difference is in these two teams is the defensive side of the ball. Ohio State has multiple players that are arguably the best players at their position. Caleb Downs very clearly the best defensive player in the country, in my personal opinion. Probably going to end up being a top 10 pick, maybe a top 5 pick as a safety, which that just doesn't happen because that position has become less valuable in the NFL. But because of what he can do, I mean, he's going to go that high. They were able to produce off the edge so far, replacing multiple edge rushers that went to the NFL. And of course, they have a linebacking room that might be better than anybody. So this team is really, really strong defensively. And as long as their offense can produce, which you expect it to be able to, they're still going to be really good the rest of the season. But Julio, I'll let you lead us on this one. Washington being the 7.5 point underdogs.
Give me Ohio State, but don't count Washington out.
Yeah, and again, I think that's a completely fair statement. I think that Washington is good enough to hang around in this game. I think they are very kind of flying under the radar, like I said, with USC. A lot of people wouldn't tell you how good this Washington team is. They're going to hang in this game, but yes, I'm going to agree with you here. Ohio State, they are the number one team in the country for a reason. Again, I think LSU, Miami could have an argument for that spot, but Ohio State just keeps putting it out there, and they kind of just do what they're supposed to do and win these football games. Their defense is really, really good, so give me Ohio State as well. Dalton, your
Yeah. Yeah, Ohio State is excellent. Their football team is excellent. Caleb Downs is the best defensive player in the country, and that's the kind of guy that absolutely just shows out in a game like this. He is just like a genius. When
yeah.
you see him at safety, this guy he just makes plays, and not when he only makes plays, he is just like a coach out there. He just knows what's going on, exactly what's going on all the time. And for that, I want Ohio State, even though this Washington team is really good behind Jonah Coleman.
Yeah,
Jonah Coleman is, I think he has a great game here, and you might see him in the Heisman. The dude's averaging 18 points a game by himself.
Yeah, again, he's ridiculous. He's been really, really good this year. Obviously, like you said, with Caleb Downs, you're talking about football IQ, being the
Yeah.
single best in the sport, but also again his playmaking ability. He's a ball hawk. He's also just one of the better guys at being able to go out and lock down a guy, which you don't see that often from a safety. So just overall, extremely talented. There's a real argument that they have two of the best players in football on this team, one at receiver, one at safety.
Yep.
Again, when they can make those differences on the outside, of course, in defense and offense, they're really hard to beat. Moving on to this next one here, a big game in the Big Ten. Indiana coming off one of the most dominant wins in college football this season, and Iowa getting the offense going, scoring a lot of points, and getting a pretty big win. Again, this is a game that is completely two different teams. I mean, Indiana, they're going to be high powered, they're going to pass the ball extremely well. They got a quarterback in Fernando Mendoza, who you could argue is the Heisman favorite with Mateer going down. He's definitely up there in the top of that conversation. 975 passing yards, over 75% completion percentage, and 14 touchdowns to 0 interceptions. Just an unbelievable start for him. You could see that talent last year when he was at Cal, but now he's been freed from the Cal system, which is really bad, and been put in a really good offense with Cignetti as his coach. On the other side for Iowa, they got the winningest quarterback in college football history. So if anybody can go out and win a football game, hey, Cignetti always says all I do is win. Gronowski can say literally all I do is win. I've got the most in college football history. Again, Gronowski, he looked a lot better last week than he did his first couple weeks. I think he finally is acclimated to the FBS level of college football. Again, really strong performance from him. If they get that, they're going to be in this game because Iowa's defense is always going to be really, really good. They're going to run the ball generally pretty well. But on top of that, they're going to have the best punter in the country. So, again, if they need to flip the field or create field position battles, they can do that. Dalton, talk about the running backs in this game.
Yeah, Indiana has an insane backfield. Kalen Black, Roman Henry, Kobe Martin, Lee Beebe Jr., and all these running backs have over 200 yards, keep in mind,
Yeah.
which is ridiculous. That is one of the most insane things I've ever heard at week 4. You don't
Yeah.
hear that from most teams at the end of the season. And that's just insanely good, especially when you have a quarterback like Fernando Mendoza that can throw the ball excellent too.
Yeah.
When you have a backfield like that behind the guy, you can trust your quarterback to throw the ball as much as she wants to because if it gets down to 3rd and short, you're fine. You're going to run the ball and you're going to be fine. And then on the other side, the team that's notorious for running the ball, Iowa, you have Jason Patterson and Xavier Williams, two good running backs there. Not excellent, but I mean, this Iowa team is always going to be able to run the ball. It's just their offense. They're going to play the field position game, hope their defense plays good. If they do, they can stick in this game because of that.
Yeah, and again, we always talk about they're going to have a running back. Xavier Williams was the guy we talked about week one. He's obviously kind of stepped down and let Patterson take over. You look at these receiving cores. Starting on the other side, we'll start with Iowa because they're the team that's not a lot to talk about when it comes to the receivers. Phillips, being the lead guy, only has 5 catches on the year. So, again, there just hasn't been a lot to going around in the passing game. And then for Indiana, they have two studs on the outside, and Omar Cooper Jr., but as well as Elijah Surratt, who we talked about last week. And he's so important to this system because he's been in this system. He's played under Cignetti, knows how the offense works, and he's the safety valve for Fernando Mendoza, who is obviously a top playmaker in college football so far this season. You look at the defenses, of course, both sides are going to have really good, strong defensive units, but Iowa always going to be known for their defense. And getting the home game here definitely makes it interesting. And really, you look at this spread, it's sitting at 7.5, so they're expecting it to be a good football game. Again, I think Iowa's defense is always at that level. Dalton, I'll let you lead us on this one.
Yeah, I'm going to actually pick Iowa here. I think Iowa comes out and surprises just this entire Indiana fan base, the Hoosiers, the basketball school.
Yeah.
So it makes them figure out what a wrestling school does to a basketball school.
Hey, that is some big fighting words there. Obviously, Iowa has the defense, like I said before. And again, you could come into this sleepwalking because you just went and blew out a team and didn't have to play in the second half. You didn't have to try. You were up by so much. So, yeah, you could come in here sleepwalking and get punched in the mouth. And Iowa's a team that, once they have a lead, they're really hard to come back against because, like I said, their special teams unit is really good. The rushing attack can be good. But for me, I can't go against Indiana. I can't go with Mr. All I Do Is Win. So give me Kurt Cignetti and the Indiana Hoosiers to actually cover the spread here. I just think this team is so good. I think that we were all kind of looking at last year and saying, it's kind of a 1 year, one and done type of thing. I think Cignetti really is just that good of a coach, and he's going to get it done here against Iowa in their stadium. Julio, what's your pick here?
I'm going to go Indiana, and I think they're going to win by 2 touchdowns. I think they're easily going to cover the spread.
Yeah, and again, same thing I said there. I just think that this team is just so strong, so talented. Again, real argument that this is a top 3 to 4 team in the Big Ten this year. Moving on to our next game here, Oregon taking on Penn State. Two teams that have looked pretty good to start the year. You would actually argue Oregon has looked better, but Penn State, of course, they have that championship type of mentality. They have to win it this year. They've got all these returning talented players. They went out and added in the transfer portal at receiver. Arguably, that's their worst position, and it was last year. And now they've got a guy in Trebor Pena who's been doing his thing. But you look at the quarterbacks here. Dante Moore, a guy that's kind of been in that Heisman conversation as well. Now with Mateer being down for a month, a lot of those names are going to climb back up in those rankings. And if you had a bet on any of them, it kind of looks like it can get a lot better because of that. 962 passing yards, 11 touchdowns, only the one interception. On the other side for Drew Aller, 4 touchdowns, one interception, 626 yards. Those stats don't look like really that impressive. But again, he is a guy that has the experience of playing big time games in this conference. Got him all the way to the semifinal last year. I trust that he can go ahead and get him rolling. And again, this is going to be a big game at home this week. Dalton, talk about the running backs and obviously Penn State. The one to talk about here.
Yeah, we're starting with Oregon because Penn State, I've got a lot to talk about them. For Oregon, you've got Jaden Lamar, Deer Hill Jr., and Noah Whittington. Good running backs. You're just trying to fill in the role from back last year. You lost a great running back. I was big on him. And for Penn State, you have Keytron Allen and Nicholas Singleton. I mean, this running back. I've said it since the beginning of the year. This is the best backfield in football.
Yes.
They have the best two running. In my opinion, they're both top 5 running backs, and that's insane to have on one team. Even though they aren't like shown superior as I figured they would be, I figured this team would blow everybody out to this point, which no, they haven't done, which has surprised me, and I feel like that's the shocking part for me.
Yeah, and again, it's been partially due to the inability to get the passing
Yep.
game just going crazy good. Now, again, they've obviously got a lead receiver now in Trebor Pena. I talked about him already. You got more on the other side for Oregon. Again, you got more throwing to more, so that's obviously going to be a good connection. But again, they lost a receiver before the season started. That was a big loss for them. So they've kind of had to fill those shoes, and they've done a good job at that. Again, Dante Moore having a really good start to the year. And then you go down and look at these defenses. Denied Dennis Sutton, a guy that was talked about last year, how good he was behind Abdul Carter making the plays. And on the other side, Uwe Ungalale, Really, really good. Obviously, a lot better than his older brother, who did not have a great year last year and is now sitting on a depth chart somewhere in the NFL. I think he's with the Chargers. But again, these two teams are really, really good. I think whoever gets the home field advantage here is going to be a big deal. But I will not be the one making the hard decision first. I'll go ahead and let you make this decision, Julio. Who you got here?
It is going to be a wideout, I'm sure. It's at Penn State. So, I mean, it's going to be tough to bet against him being a wideout, but I just don't think Allard can do it in a big game. Give me Oregon.
Yeah, and again, his struggles have been very prevalent. He's made mistakes in big games, but I do think that the Penn State is really strong this year. I'm still not going to go against that defense. I'm not going to go against that ground game. Dalton, you mentioned how they have struggled to be like super dominant, but they still have nearly 300 yards for Katron, and again. Singleton is great. We expect he'll do it as well. So I do think that backfield gets going. I think they control the tempo here. And like you said, Julio, this environment is one of the best, if not the best, when they have their wideout going. So give me Penn State in a really, really good close game. I think they'll take this one. Dalton, your pick here.
Yeah, this is a tough pick. This is the game of the week, in my opinion.
Gotcha.
I think that I'm going to go with Penn State. I think James Franklin pulls through with a big game, and this is a huge statement win for Penn State. This is the to on the road to a national championship as long as you win this game.
Yeah, and again, we talk about this before. I think it's something we have to mention.
Yeah.
Before you look at these ticket prices, man, that is ridiculous. 376 to sit in a 100,000 person stadium at the top of it. But like you said before, when you know what's going on with the whiteout, it's going to bring the fans. It's going to be crazy. And again, this game is going to be the biggest game in college football this week. But the next one we talk about will obviously be super important. And we'll go ahead and bridge the gap over to that one, talking about Alabama taking on the Georgia Bulldogs. Obviously, Julio's got a lot to say, but I'll go ahead and enter us into this and start our conversation with it going first here. Ty Simpson, obviously at quarterback for Alabama, had a game at the beginning of the year that a lot of people were upset with. They didn't think he played all that great, but again, I saw the flashes that he could be a good quarterback. I even told Julio and I told Joey, who we've had on the podcast before, I said just calm down on him, let him get acclimated to the offense and get things going. Now he's done that. Again, I don't think he's the best quarterback in the entire country, like Kirby Smart said this week. But I do think he is really good. I think he can make plays for this team. And then on the other side for Georgia, hey, Kirby, you kind of disrespecting your own guy who went out and won you that game against Tennessee. He played phenomenal football, was making every single throw when necessary, and he also brings you the absolute hard hat mentality where he wants to lower his shoulder and run through your face when he runs the ball. That's obviously a big thing with him. I mean, does he make it through the whole season, taking some of the hits he takes? But of course, he's just got that mentality, which is a really good thing. Obviously, when you're playing football, you need that. So again, both quarterbacks playing good at this point in the season. Julio, I'll just let you rip right now on Alabama. Go ahead.
First, we have a running back room, and it's great that Jam's going to be back this week. That's a big piece, since our own game's it's not been the Alabama run game that you're used to seeing. Kevin Riley has about 120 yards through 3 games, which is not very good. But then on the receiving side of the things, Jeremy Bernard has stepped up big. And I mean, he's arguably receiver one at this point. He has almost 100 yards a game. Ryan Williams finally showed up the Wisconsin game and had almost 200 yards, and he went over 100 in like a year. So,
Yeah.
it's nice to see him finally get back involved. And then you have Isaiah Horton, who's a 3, who's a guy who, if you're at the goal line, just throw it up to him.
Yeah, big dude. Big guy can make plays on the outside. Of course, we'll go over now to the Georgia side. Dalton, you've covered them once before when they played Tennessee. Give me that back
Yep.
now.
Yeah, Nate Frazier is an absolute menace on the field, and Dwight Phillips. These guys are excellent running backs. This Georgia team is just full of athletes. The backfield is just it's insane. You can not stop listing these guys that that are contributors to this team. I mean, they constantly just feed in running backs.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy because I can't sit here and listen. I mean, there's probably 6 guys that get carries, and they all are studs.
Yeah, and again,
Like,
you're gonna have receivers making plays.
yeah, this Georgia team knows how to win ball games, and
Yeah.
it showed in the Tennessee game.
Yeah, again, they've got a very good head coach.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't think it's
the
even.
best head coach, the
Yeah,
best head coach.
I don't think it's an argument. He's the best in college football now. And again, they're going to be able to run their quarterback. They're going to be able to run their running backs. They have multiple that can get the ball. Frazier going to be that tank on the goal line, and they've got multiple receivers that can make plays with end
Yeah,
arounds and sweeps. And again, Zachariah Branch is that guy for them. He is one of the fastest players, if not the fastest player in college football. He is a complete difference maker for this team. And again, they have had guys that are really, really good. Lad McConkey was incredible for them, made a lot of plays. But again, Zachariah Branch brings a different element that taking the top off like nobody else does. And last year's team, again, Carson Beck has looked fine in Miami when he had his weapons. That team dropped a ton of passes. They were not good at catching the football. And that is the difference in this team now. They have multiple guys that are playmakers. Colby Young is a monster on the outside, one of the biggest receivers in college football. So again, you talk about their weapons. Julio, you already once mentioned it. I won't say too much, but Bernard has been incredible. He has been exactly what you expected out of him this year, and probably even better. Ryan Williams, you know he has to keep going, and last year this was his game. This was the one that got him on the national scene, and everybody knew how good this kid was. So does he bring that again in this one, or will Georgia be more prepared for it, just knowing how good of a player he is? You look at the two defenses, and one of the question marks with Alabama is where are they getting the pass rush? Where are they getting the pressure? Only your lead sack guy only has one sack on the season, but again, this is a team full of talent, so it's a lot of rotation. It's a lot of different guys with plays, and again, you expect the defense will be able to make plays. Lawson being one of the best linebackers in the entire country. Again, dealt with some injuries last year. I'm not sure how he's done this year, only making 10 tackles so far, but again, I expect he'll be a big part of this one. Then you look at Chris Cole on the other side. This is a guy from the state of Virginia that Virginia Tech was on the board with him, trying to get him last second. And of course, if you have the Georgia offer, you're going to go play at Georgia. But interesting to see him taking over already. A pretty young player being a difference maker for the Bulldogs. Again, this is an incredible football game taking place. Georgia getting the home game here as it was at Alabama last year. Dalton, you're probably the biggest Alabama hater here, so I'll let you pick first.
Oh yeah, I hate Alabama, and this Tennessee needs Georgia to beat Alabama in this situation, and I think that this Georgia team is reminding me of a Stetson Bennett Georgia team. This is very similar. Gunnar Stockton is just that guy that he's not the greatest at his position, but he does exactly what he needs to win ball games, and he's shown that. Like it was seen in that Tennessee game.
Yeah.
Their backfield is excellent. They're always going to be able to run the ball. They just have this constant feed of running backs. And then you have just a quarterback that's going to make the play on fourth down to win the ball game, to tie the ball game, to put you in the position to win the ball game. And I don't think Alabama has that person to do that for them.
Yeah, and again, I don't think that that's a bad argument at all. I think that you're looking at a guy in Ty Simpson who hasn't been thrust in this kind of situation, and when he was at the beginning of the year, he just wasn't able to get it done at the end of that game. Now, again, I again don't put a lot of that blame on him. I think that their struggles in the run game has been a big deal. Julio, you mentioned Jan Miller returning this week. That is a big deal for them. If he can get things going and become the guy he was last year, he is an absolute difference maker. But again, I just don't see that happening. I think Georgia wins this football game. I think their defense is just good enough. But I do expect a really close, good fight here. DeBoer needs to get a huge win this season. A lot of Alabama fans are tired of them losing these kinds of games. This is the ones that when they had Nick Saban and it was prime time, they won this football game. So again, they have to have them step up in this one. I just think they're going to fall short. I think Georgia will get it done, but again, a 3.5 point spread. I don't know how you'd bet it. I think it's going to be a 2-3 point game. Give me Georgia taking a close one here. Julio, we know where you're heading probably, but I'll let you rant a little bit.
So I think Ryan Williams is going to have another game like he did last year. Georgia's secondary is atrocious. After watching last week, it is atrocious, and I think Ryan Williams will thrive, and so will Jeremy Bernard. I think like we've talked about week one, if Ty Simpson plays like it against Wisconsin, the first half of that game, he might throw for 400 against Georgia. Like I'm serious, he might throw for 400 because watching them play now, Simpson isn't as good as Aguilar. I'll admit that he's not as good as Aguilar. But I'm telling you, he has way better receivers than Aguilar, and he will throw for 400.
Chris Brazel's 10 times better than anybody on your team.
There they are. Heated discussion. Julio, I'll let you finish this. We know where you're going here, though.
Okay, I'm gonna give me Alabama 31-24.
Again, I think that's completely fair. I think these two teams are both really good. Again, you talk about the Alabama defense; they're really good. They're having a lot of playmakers. But again, like I said before, I just think Georgia's going to edge this one out. Moving on to our next one here, Tech taking on NC State at NC State, actually known as one of the tougher environments in the ACC. Their fan base always shows up. Of course, Tech get their first win last week, played like how they're supposed to play, and maybe that they kind of got an injection from their coaching staff, the switch up. Obviously, maybe the players are playing harder for Philip Montgomery. Obviously, at one point in time, he was a head coach. Didn't have a lot of success doing that, but again, I mean, he's an older guy that's led teams before. Kyron Drones finally kind of come out of his shell and had his second best passing game of his college football career, which is very interesting. And again, maybe they've unlocked something. Maybe the offense can get better. Phil knows what he's doing, so as being a play caller as he is, maybe has untapped something. On the other side for NC State, CJ Bailey, again, has turnover issues with 4 picks through the first couple games. The 7 touchdowns with 1,000 yards proves he can pass the ball pretty well at a high level. And again, you go down and look at these running backs. For Virginia Tech, Marcellus Hawkins has been our lead guy this year, but Terrion Stewart, I truthfully think, is our most talented back. He just isn't able to be on the field. Missed again last week, wasn't able to touch the field. And then we saw PJ Prelo kind of step up into the role that he was given as the receiving back and kind of a short yardage work guy. Again, he made plays. That was when he was on the field, and they actually started getting him on the field even more. He was the third down back to start the game, but as the game went on and he was making plays left and right, it was hard not to give him the ball. So maybe they found something there with a guy that, we obviously talked about how we saw him in high school, played against that team, and he was obviously a difference maker for them at that level. And now you're kind of seeing the flashes of his talent at the FBS level. On the other side, Dalton, we'll go ahead and let you talk about this guy, Hollywood Smothers, who
Yep.
unbelievable.
Hollywood Smothers is an excellent running back. This guy's a stud. This is the reason this NC State team wins ball games. You can
Yes.
see this guy already has that 80 carries. That is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, when you have that kind of numbers, and that means he's averaging 20 yards, 20 carries a game.
Yeah.
That means this guy's getting the ball a lot, and they trust him a whole bunch.
Yep.
And I imagine if you win a ball game like this, you give this guy the ball a lot. I'd say he comes out with 100 carries by the end of this game.
Yeah, and again, that's probably
Yeah.
very reasonable for them. Again, they have CJ Bailey, who is also a very talented athlete in his own right. You're going to probably see him try to get going a little bit in the rushing attack. You look down at the receiving core. Of course, Anderson being the lead guy for NC State, 15 catches, 2 touchdowns, 273 yards. Had a good year so far, but you see, he only has 270 yards, which means Bailey's getting the ball around to a lot of different players. Smothers obviously is doing that as well. He's just a very good dynamic player. Probably arguably the best running back in the ACC right now, statistically speaking. Then you go look at the receivers for Virginia Tech. Donovan Green has been a separator. He's been a playmaker at times this year, but also he's had some bad drops. Last week was just not a good week for him, and that was a game where our offense actually looked good. So if you can get him going, I think, again, that game could have even been a bigger score, and you just have to have him going. He is easily your biggest deep threat. He's easily the biggest veteran type style guy on the outside. And he made plays against South Carolina. You'd like to see him do that again. Aiden Green looked great last week. Again, did what he was supposed to do. We saw Devin Alves step up. And if he's going to give you anything, the receiving room actually looks kind of deep. You have a lot of guys that can catch passes. Benji Gosnell would love to see him get going at some point. He's easily one of my favorite receivers or tight end technically on the roster. Obviously, love the Gosnell brothers of what Steven did last year and just hope he can get going. Go down, look at this defensive side. And this is kind of the thing is last week we saw Tech play a bunch of different guys, freshmen that had not touched the field yet this year, and they actually looked good. They looked like they wanted to play football. There was a lot of slumping our heads and not caring how we were playing when we were getting blown out because they didn't have any get back. They didn't have any reason to come back and want to try in those games, which was kind of embarrassing. The freshmen, they don't have that. They're fighting for a position on the field, so they're going to play hard no matter what the score is. I love that. Kind of saw that injection into the defensive side as we saw on the offensive side. Kelvin Gilliam, really great this year so far. But the talking point is Kamari Copeland. He had an interception last week. He's an absolute game wrecker up the middle. Probably one of the strongest defensive players in the country. I mean, he squatted 600 some pounds 10 times before the season started. So if you're doing that, you are a monster of a player. And then on the other side, of course, being the lead tackler with almost 40 is the linebacker over at NC State. So again, he's going to be a difference maker for them. Going up to make a pick in this one. Obviously, the spread looking a lot closer than it would have a week ago. But again, obviously, we're still pretty big underdogs here in Raleigh. Julio, I'll let you lead us here on this one.
I'd love to go with Tech here, but give me NC State.
Yeah, and again, I don't blame you at all. The way Tech has played against competition before this, again, I would argue that Vanderbilt and South Carolina are better teams than NC State, but ODU certainly isn't. They don't have the level of talent, and we played horrible against them too. Now, again, this coaching change could have changed some things and sparked the offense. Dalton, I'll let you go ahead and make the second pick here.
Yeah, I'm actually not going to go with Tech here. uh, I thought this is Tech will play good, I think, in this game. They won't play nearly as bad as they have. I feel like they've woke themselves up a little bit, especially after the coaching. All the stuff happened there. I believe that they've realized that well, we actually have a chance to go 3-9.
Yeah, I
So
mean, better than what
I
they were looking.
yeah. Yeah, like you can win a couple ball games if you do that, but I don't think they win this ball game. But I do think it's a lot closer than what you people were expecting.
Yeah, and again, I was optimistic before the year started. I said I was going to be an optimist. This is a game that I actually think Tech can go on the road and win. I don't think NC State's some superpower. You look at their record; they're 3-1, but they should have lost to Virginia, and their quarterback just made an absolutely boneheaded decision on the goal line and threw a pick. They've given up a ton of points every game. I think they just gave up 40 last week. They gave up 31 to Virginia, and again, you're talking about a defense that has looked horrible. I think if Tech comes out and plays with some passion, it's kind of one of those games where they're going to look at us and say, man, that team sucks. They haven't done anything. They lost to ODU by 28 points or 30 points, whatever it was. So I'm going to be an optimist here. I'm going to pick Tech. I think that this is probably one of the only games left this year we have a real chance. You looking down the schedule, you know the other ones I'm going to say. So obviously, I'm going to take Tech here. I'm going to say it's a really close game. We have the monkey off our back of not being able to win one score games because the coach that was here that couldn't do that is gone now. So give me Tech getting a really close victory here. Maybe you see some positives for the rest of the season. I still don't expect any better than like 4-8 or 3-9. But again, I think it would be fun to watch them win a game here late night in Raleigh. Moving on to our next one here, we got Tennessee taking on Mississippi State. Of course, Mississippi State had a really good start to the season so far, far better than they were last year, where they were a 2-10 football team. And Tennessee, of course, coming off the loss 2 weeks ago, but got a win last week. Played pretty strong football, got to rest their starters. Coming into this one ready to go. Dalton, I'll go ahead and let you lead us here on Joey Aguilar, as I usually cover quarterbacks, but I know you want to talk about your guy.
Yeah, Joey, as we've been calling him, Joey Swaggalar. That guy is just an absolute stuff. In my opinion, he's up there with as a Heisman quarterback. I think everybody's putting him there, and he's just a perfect fit to our offense. And I really like how he plays the game. He plays like he doesn't care, like he is that guy in that moment. I really like that. That's what I realized Nico didn't have last year. He was kind of scared to throw the ball in certain situations. He was a heck of an athlete, but he was just scared to use that ability. And Joey Aguilar's not. With a backfield like what we have with Star Thomas, Peyton Lewis, and Deshaun Bishop, I mean, that's having a quarterback that's excellent like Joey Aguilar is great. I mean, this team really has surprised me. I know until I seen like let's play against Georgia, and I realized like we really are a contender.
Yep.
Like I'm like, wow, this team's actually good, and I'm very impressed.
On the other side for Mississippi State, they had a lot to fix in this offseason. This is definitely not a team that looked very good, but they are able to do that. They get Blake Shapen, who's played really well at quarterback for them, but also they go out and add one of the best transfers in Fluff Bothwell, a running back that I've loved to talk about this season. Of course, he, again, has one of the best names in college football, but he's been a real difference maker for them. And again, he transferred in from that smaller, lower level of college football, but he's kind of instantly fit into the SEC environment and got a big win already early in the season over Arizona State, who we talked about earlier. Go down to the receivers. Of course, Thompson being the lead guy for Mississippi State. Dalton, your guys on the other side, Chris Brazzell. You got Braylon Staley, who's looked really good behind him. And again, that room has been pretty deep so far, and there's been a lot of different guys catch passes. All three backs have that ability as well. I'd say Star Thomas is kind of the best one out of all three of them.
Yep.
He was a really good receiving back at Duke last year, too. You go down, you look at these defenses. Tennessee just waiting for the return of their two corners. I'm not sure the status of their corners this week. I assume that this is probably another game they're going to be out, though. I think they were
Yep.
stating more of a midseason return for the both of them. And then on the other side for Mississippi State, that environment is going to be the defense for them. You're talking about one of the best environments in the entire SEC. They get really rowdy. They are for some reason allowed to bring the cowbells in. A lot of teams aren't allowed to do anything like that, but it's their tradition. So they've been allowed to do it forever. A lot of people argue they shouldn't be able to, but they still do it, and it is very, very loud. I mean that place gets rocking. Well, when they have those things going. So we'll go up and make a pick here, Dalton. I'll let you go last since it's your team, but Julio, you're
Yep.
the biggest Tennessee hater here, so I'll let you lead us on this one.
Mississippi State finally has a good quarterback. They haven't had one since I think Will Rogers, who transferred to Washington, and he wasn't great at Washington. I think last year. I think he transferred to Washington last year, and probably the best quarterback since Dak. Dak's probably been their other guy that's been. He was really good at Mississippi State actually. But to make a pick here, I'm gonna pick the upset here. Give me Mississippi State. Tennessee is gonna lose two games in a row, and they're done for the season, and then they're gonna lose to Alabama.
He's given some early hate to Dalton, but I'll let Dalton get his rebuttal in a second. Obviously, Dalton did the same on the other side, but his pick wasn't as crazy. Georgia being a great football team. But looking at this one, of course, I think Tennessee has played really good football early on in the season. I do think that it's kind of a scary thing to run into this Mississippi State team. They are playing way better. They're not a just easy peasy W. As before the season started, I think Tennessee would have marked it down as a free win on the schedule after you watched that team last year. But Fluff Bothwell is really rough. They have a good quarterback who can pass the ball pretty well. And again, Miss Secondary is not bad by any means, but they gave up a ton of yards last week. That quarterback play is probably on a similar level in the passing game. I think Tennessee has just overall better talent. They're a better football team. I think they'll be able to establish the ground game, even if they can't get a crazy passing attack going. But like Dalton said before, I think Aguilar is incredible. I told him when they got him, I said, this kid was really good at App State. I think this was kind of an exciting get for them. And he's been a difference maker for Tennessee. I think he's an early Heisman guy. Give me Tennessee, and actually, this is sitting at 7.5. Give me Tennessee to cover that too. I think Tennessee wins this one pretty big, or not huge, but by 10 or more points. Dalton, your pick here.
Yeah, Starkville is a hard place to play. That's just that place is just a weird place. It's like not a big town or city. It's just football. That's all they care about.
Yep.
I mean, Mississippi don't have much, but that's about all they got going for them. So expect it to be a loud place, especially with cowbells. That place. I remember in high school when I was younger, and you would go to these high school games, and you hear cowbells, and you can't hear in a high school game. I couldn't imagine what it's like to be at down
With
there with
30,000
like that
fans.
with no 50,000 fans doing this.
Yeah.
Ding, 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 ding. I mean, I couldn't
The whole
imagine,
entire
but
game. The whole entire game.
yeah, I think, and it's not like you lose your voice. You can keep ringing that
Yeah,
when you're
the
tired.
whole game.
And I mean, Tennessee. I think obviously I'm going to pick Tennessee in this. I think this is a trap game if
Yes.
anything.
Yes.
And like I think we will win, but I do think there is that chance that we don't. Like I mean, it's possible, and I like wouldn't be that surprised. I mean, we lost the trap game last year and to Arkansas, and I don't know. I have a weird feeling, but I'm very confident that Joey Aguilar can clutch up here and win this game.
Like I said before, I think Tennessee's really strong. Julio, what was your last point here?
Oh, I think this kind of reminds me of the Alabama Vanderbilt game last year. It's kind of a game where you played really good against Georgia, and then the next week you're like, oh, it's an easy win. But
We
you
played
play.
Georgia 2 weeks ago. That's how much you watch college football.
Okay, sorry.
We
It's
played
3 o'clock in
UAB
the morning
last. Well,
here.
we beat the University of Alabama Birmingham last
Yeah,
week, and we're beating them the University of Alabama a couple weeks from now.
There's a
no,
little
So
bit of brotherly banter.
yeah,
We'll save that
yeah.
for that podcast. Obviously, we'll be excited when we get to that one. But we've got college football this week. Thank you guys so much for joining us this week. Obviously, we have some really big games. We talked about how there's two huge matchups that are going to be kind of deciding factors in conference play potentially. I expect both those games to be really good football games. Those teams have always kind of competed against each other when you talk about Bama and Georgia. And then on the other side, Oregon being a brand new Big Ten school, kind of getting that first taste last year. They were obviously really good. Now getting another round of it, and Penn State obviously looking to be the time to win a championship is this year. If they don't do it now, when will they do it? Lasting remarks, Dalton. I'll go ahead and let you make yours first.
Yeah, big week here for Tennessee, and thank you all for watching. I'm very happy with hopefully 100 subs coming up soon. I
Yes.
feel it coming. I feel like we're getting almost there, and go Vols as always.
Yeah, and again, when we get to that 100 subs, Dalton is going to do something crazy. We don't know what it's going to be, but it would be
You don't
really,
know. It might be winter time by then. I might be like jumping the
hey,
snow
it
near
would
or
be
something. I
really
don't know.
fun. It would be really fun if we made it to that Alabama game and it was 100 subs because Dalton would
Yeah, that would be sick.
best week to do it.
We might have a wrestling match between an Alabama and Tennessee singlets and see who wins.
Would be an absolutely legendary segment on the podcast. Probably would go worldwide viral. Again, thank you guys so much for joining us. Julio, I'll let you leave your last remarks here.
I'm just gonna let you guys know Georgia has not beat Alabama at home since 2009, so it's gonna continue this week. Bama's gonna beat Georgia at home. I'm calling it. Roll Tide.
Yeah, crazy statistic. Obviously, Georgia would look to have the home field advantage, and we talked about a curse earlier in the year, Dalton, with Tennessee and Georgia. Could Tennessee break their curse? Now Georgia looks to break their own against Alabama. Again, thank you guys so much for joining us. Had a lot of fun this week. Great discussion. Obviously, have some huge games coming up, and we'll come back on the review next week and talk about these. Obviously, we won't get exactly what the opinion is of Julio, but we might have him on later in the year, and he'll be talking about a different game that he might even get a little rowdier for. had a couple breakouts here.
Yeah, I might throw a few punches at him next time.
We had a couple breakouts here and there between the two of them. They got a little fired up, but that's what's fun about it. And again, we're trying to hit that 100 subscriber mark here soon. We gained another one. We're at 71 now, boys. We're starting to roll here. I think it's like 7 or 8 subscribers over the last
6 or 7.
nope, 7 or 8. Avoided the 6, 7 for a reason. Dalton, obviously, the meme guy he is, brings it into the podcast. It's always lovely to have Dalton on here each and every week. We'll go ahead and wrap things up. We've read on a little bit here, and again, thank you guys so much for joining us. And peace.
Peace.